Hello viewers. Welcome to Tuesday, 10 AM. I've just parked at the Sunshine Coast Airport. Let's check it out. Come along with me on CoffeeChillTV. Like, share, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. And folks, before we get into the terminal, just let you know there's a sub agenda to today's airport visit at the Sunshine Coast Airport. I want to get into a little bit of travel talk as well. And folks, today's travel talk is all about how much time one spends in and out of an airport when we have those, connecting flights. For example, you want to fly from Brisbane to London. Well, there is no direct flight at the time of making this video between Brisbane and London. So I've done that flight quite a few times, and in the past I've stayed in places like Hong Kong, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok. Okay, so if your final destination requires that you pass through a city, do you just do that? Do you just spend a couple of hours and get on the next flight? Do you spend an extended amount of time, maybe enough to let you grab a half-day tour or get out for 6 or 7 hours? Or do you spend a few days, a couple of nights? It's a conundrum, isn't it? Pros and cons and issues either side, and I've done all of them. I've done extremely short transits and extended stays. So that'll be the subtext as I show you the Sunshine Coast International Airport. I haven't been for a few years. Looking forward to checking it out myself. And folks, excuse the wind effects. I like to do live to tape narration, but I will backfill this video with some, external sources and links and etc. I'll do that just when I get back home and I've made another cup of coffee. But before we go into the terminal, I quite like the topiary. And in the background, you can also see a bird of paradise flower. Lovely, I reckon. Look at that. How good is topiary, guys? Are you a fan? I like topiary. How about you? So folks, in addition to the wind effects, you may hear some construction. The Sunshine Coast Airport is expanding. Now, some people call it the Maroochydore Airport. Some people call it the Markoola Airport. It is an international airport now, and there are plans to expand with more international flights coming up soon. So, the airport is expanding, and as a Sunshine Coast resident and ratepayer, I think it's great. And I've flown out of this airport once, long time ago. It was domestic. But I kind of like the idea of an international flight out of this airport as well. So, hey, without further ado, let's get inside and have a look at the terminal. And you know what, folks? Even though I'm not flying today, I like going to airports. The last time I visited this airport was to send off one of my friends, one of my New Zealand mates. She was flying to Melbourne, and then from Melbourne she was off for the main part of her journey. So, you know, I just love going to. I like hanging out in airports. You know, I always enjoy it. You know, for some folks it's the opposite, and that can be a factor when we start talking about transits and layovers and stopovers. But yeah, for me, I like it. I like coming to airports. So folks, mid-morning here on a Tuesday. It's all domestic in this part of the airport, but let's keep exploring. So folks, if you're new to the channel, you may not be aware, heads up, I like to provide the impetus. What drove me to make the video when I do these sort of philosophic chats on CoffeeChillTV. And today, guys, whilst I was having my coffee and reading the courier mail, in the escape section there was an article by Jenny Hewitt, and the article was called 5 Reasons I Never Book Connecting Flights. And I thought, yeah, you know what? That's good material to do a video. I'm going to give you my take on Jenny's, 5 reasons why she never books a connecting flight. So, according to the author, she never books connecting flights for 5 reasons. 1, tight connections. 2, you could get sprung. Followed by, it's exhausting. 4, I love stopovers. And finally, airports suck. So there's 5 there, guys. I'm going to unpack those and give you my take as well. And as always, comments are most welcome. So, you know, what are your thoughts on this? Do you rush through to the next destination? Do you step out of the airport? What's your take on the connecting flights conundrum? coffee time. Okay viewers, the author says tight connections is one of her 5 reasons why she doesn't book connecting flights, and she talks about the fact that, you know, a 90-minute connection looks good on paper, but all it takes is a few delays, distractions, and all of a sudden you're running in between terminals. Yeah, and I've got a personal story there. I remember a 45-minute transit one time between Brisbane and Phuket via Singapore, and yeah, I was running between terminals. You know, 45 minutes is crazy. Everything was on time, but yeah, I don't like cutting it fine, and yeah, tight connections. You know, that's definitely one reason why, yeah, I don't do too many connecting flights these days myself. Next up, you know, in the argument against connecting flights, you could get sprung. And yeah, you know, unexpected delays, and maybe you can't just hang out in the airport, but if you try to leave the airport, visa issues. So yeah, you could get sprung. I remember one time we had connecting flights. I was flying to Bangkok via Brisbane, and there was fog. The departing flight was a long time out of the airport. Missed all the connecting flights. Had to stay in Singapore for one night. But you know, I was on Singapore Airlines. There were taxis, air, food vouchers, and the hotel. Now, if I'd gone for some El Cheapo carrier, that might have been different. And you know, what about travel insurance? Yeah, if you've got comprehensive insurance, it might cover that. But yeah, with connecting flights, something goes wrong, and you will have some out of pocket, unexpected out of pockets, if you're not careful, if you're not lucky. Okay, folks, the next one. It's exhausting. And you know what? It is, particularly if you've got long-range connections. You know, when I was a young, agile backpacker, you know, 7 or 8 or 9 hours to one destination, and then another dozen, 14 to the next, didn't bother me. But yeah, not these days. These days, I want to get out of the airport. It's too exhausting, particularly if you've got 2 long-haul flights connecting. And up next, guys, I suppose this is a positive for the stopover. The author says, I love stopovers. So do I. You know, the last few years I've been doing sort of 2 nights in Sydney and 2 nights in Bangkok. Stopovers, you know, and I really love it. Get out there and explore places that you've missed. And the great thing, if I talk about Sydney and if I talk about Bangkok, yeah, so I've done 2 night stopovers recently in Sydney, and I stayed in the airport precinct, Mascot. I really like Mascot, and it's easy to get a train from Mascot, Circular Quay, St James, and explore the city. You know, and it's always exciting to be back in Sydney. And when I'm on stopover through Bangkok these days, I stay in Lac Krabang, Suvarnabhumi airport precinct, and I like the hotels, I like the night markets. There's big shopping malls there, and if I want to go somewhere in the heart of the city, I can always organise some private transport. But you know, these airport precincts, they're a lot of fun. You know, Lac Krabang, I like it in Bangkok, and I like Mascot in Sydney. So there you go. Okay, guys, the last point by Jenny Hewitt in her 5 reasons I never book connecting flights. Her reason number 5, it's a bit blunt, airports suck. Okay, well, for me it's not that cut and dried. Some airports suck. Some airports are a destination in their own right. So yeah, there are some airports that I've stayed in over the years, and yeah, I really couldn't wait to get out of the airport, either by car or connecting flight. But yeah, airports, yeah. I mean, if you're in a first class lounge, that's probably different than if you're just sitting out in the, the departures area where we are here now at the Sunshine Coast Airport. I'm quite comfortable though. I'm enjoying being here. So folks, just some final thoughts. Many of you would be familiar with the late great Anthony Bourdain and his series The Layover, where he kind of embraced the layover. He would zip out of the airport. Maybe he had 24 hours or less, maybe a little bit more sometimes, but he would zip out of the airport and try to kind of jam in as many kind of foodie experiences as he could. I love that series, and I'll try to put some notes on that. But yeah, embrace either way, I suppose. And in the interest of balance, guys, those connecting flights, sometimes there's a pretty juicy financial incentive. You book that return ticket, Brisbane to London, with a Bangkok stopover and the transit. The way it works is it can be quite economical if you just spend 4 or 5 hours at Swanepoel from B&E to Heathrow. There can be strong financial incentives to taking connecting flights, let's be honest. And of course time, folks. So a few years ago I had to get back to Australia in a hurry. I flew from Udon to Bangkok. I spent several hours in Bangkok. Then I flew from Bangkok to Singapore. I spent several hours in Singapore, and then I got a night flight from Singapore to Brisbane. I needed to get home quickly for, let's say, some family matters. So really the luxury of maybe spending a few days in Singapore, or a few days in Bangkok even, that was kind of gone. So if time's on the wing, whilst you might like the idea of spending a couple of nights exploring Bangkok, maybe in that example, you've just got to push through. So yeah, time and money are always factors. For yours truly, touch wood, the last few years I haven't done connecting flights. I've just booked a whole batch of one-way tickets. When I go back to Australia from Udon, I spend a couple of nights in Bangkok. I then fly to Sydney because I like day flights. I don't like night flights. And I could push through to Brisbane, but I don't. I spend a couple of nights in Sydney, and then I just get a nice user-friendly flight, normally a midday flight, a 1 p.m. flight back to Brisbane. And that's one of the things too, guys, when you just do direct flights, no connections, it obviously depends on the flight path, but on popular flight paths, if you like the night flight, you can book it. If you like the day flight, you can book it. But if you book return tickets with connections, one of those legs is probably going to be day, one's going to be night. You might like that, you might not. But hey, for me, yeah, it's been a long time since I got a connecting flight. And yeah, time and cost, efficiency on the ledger for connection flights. But yeah, I like to, you know, explore a place for a couple of nights in between. It's on my way to the main destination. And folks, what about you? How much time do you like to spend in airports? You know, if you're on your way to your primary destination and you can't just fly there direct, do you break up the trip or do you push through? You know, there's pros and cons. Let me know in the comments section. And hey, I hope you enjoyed this vlog, and I do hope to see you again soon. Coffee Chill TV. Like, share and subscribe if you feel the vibe.